know about the video that was trending on social media yesterday. We broadcasted, so did other stations. An arrest in Coachella by agents from the FBI and INS, the Immigration and Naturalization Service. A warrant for the arrest of the husband of a Coachella City Council member. Yadira Perez was out. Married for 28 years, and he was gone in the blink of an eye. He is waiting to be released on bond. Coachella is a sanctuary city, but when federal agencies come, it's a different story. Now it's safe to say Coachella has a number of undocumented residents. So why was Yadira's husband targeted? Well, we've learned from the FBI that her husband had been deported some years back and illegally re-entered. That is the issue here. Tomorrow, the FBI is set to unseal the file, and that will show that her husband has a prior criminal conviction. A few. Who alerted the authorities about him? Two trains of thought. This is what's going on in the country right now, and he pops up on the Fed's radar. The other. Think about this. Yadira was recently elected to the Coachella City Council. That drew attention to her family. With her election, the balance of power on the council shifted. The new majority believes in transparency and accountability, something that had been a foreign concept to those that had been in the majority in the past. Keep this in mind. If he is actually deported, Yadira will quit her job, leave the council, and go with him. That means the swing vote seat would be up for grabs. This morning, I spent some time with Yadira at her home.
Last year, I told my husband that I had been asked to run for city council. And my husband told me, I know you can do it. He told me, you have a big heart and you fight for the rights of citizens. So I listened to him and I ran for city council. And with his support, we won. It was my husband who motivated me to do better for the city we live in. It is he who has held us together.
You had no suspicion at all that anyone had been around town looking into this?
My husband kind of thought, like, hey, you know, I think people are following us. I'm like, no, don't worry about it. He was like, yeah, you're right. We have nothing to hide. I said, no.
You know what I think? I think people are playing dirty, Yadira. I think they are. I think it is so unfair. But I think some people will stop at nothing to get what they want. And I also think that had to mean stopping you. Because you spoke out, because you were honest, because you were true, because you fought for transparency, and because you believed in the good of people. In your heart, you believed in the good of people, and you wanted better for everyone. I think that's threatening people. Coachella has 50,000 people in it. I don't know exactly, but let's say it does. They just happened to arrest one person. One who just happened to be the husband of someone on the city council who was elected because they wanted transparency in a better community. Just as someone observing this, that seems a little more than coincidental.
Right now, Fred, I don't know what to think anymore.
Honestly, you don't think this was random, do you?
I don't know what to think anymore. I don't know what to...
What can we do for you?
I just want my husband back. That's all.
No one knows who alerted the authorities or if they came up with this on their own. But a curious moment occurred during the now legendary Coachella City manager meeting. While it seemed like Jesus Gonzalez was either threatening or ridiculing certain members of the board, he spoke to Yadira and for some reason brought up her husband.
Yadira, I spoke to you on election day. I ran into your husband, who I didn't know was your husband, and I've known him for a long time, and we have a good friendship. We actually spoke for about an hour in front of City Hall here, and when I got done, I went to Bagduma and I spoke to you. I actually walked up and I said, hi, Yadira, I wish you the best of luck. I had no idea who your husband was, and I asked to meet with you.
That came out of the blue and had zero connection to anything that was going on. Gonzalez, who was fighting to save his seat on the school board, has no authority on the city council, except it's generally accepted in the city of Coachella, everything runs through Gonzalez. That makes this even more bizarre, that he mentions her husband in a public meeting, and suddenly he's gone. We're now joined by an immigration attorney. Hadley, appreciate you joining the show tonight.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so when we look at this, it is confusing and baffling to most people. What do you know? What can you tell us right now?
What I know is what I believe people have seen in the video. Was picked up in a targeted enforcement operation at Walmart in the Coachella Valley, likely Coachella Indio area yesterday, in front of his family.
Okay. He was picked up in front of his family. And I think the question that most people have on their mind is, who finds out about this? How is it decided that that's the person we're going to go pick up in front of their family?
Well, in my experience, this was a targeted enforcement operation. ICE and the marshals and the FBI who are involved in this detention were likely tipped off he perhaps has an immigration issue.
Well, I was told by his wife that they felt they had been followed starting last week. And then they looked at it and said, well, now maybe we're just imagining things. Obviously, they weren't imagining things. So that would mean that federal agents were here watching them for a bit of time, right?
Yes, that's typically what happens in these targeted enforcement operations. They case their target or their subject for several days, learn their routine. The conditions of yesterday's detention, it reeks of what is normal for a target enforcement operation. They were cased. And he was detained when he was most vulnerable.
Hadley, all right, I want to wrap it up with this. So he was detained, and now the process begins. You are an immigration attorney.
Yes, I am.
What is the process? Now what happens?
It really depends. It's a case-by-case basis. It depends on whether or not he has a prior removal order or expedited removal order or other issues that make him subject to be removed the same day. Fortunately, in this case, he's not one of those. He will have an opportunity to go in front of a judge. Not everyone is so lucky. We call the 2 p.m. TJ our worst nightmare. In this case, he will see a judge, and he will be given a fair opportunity to make a case to remain in the U.S.
All right. Hadley, appreciate it. Thanks for trying to make sense of something that is baffling everybody. We appreciate you joining the show.
Thank you so much.